Take it away. All right, introducing Jesse of Mad Beats, our first presenter.
Thanks so much. Appreciate everybody here. Thank you so much for having me. A little bit about myself. I started as Philadelphia's first drumline specialist in 2003, serving Germantown High School, Strawberry Mansion High School, and Kensington High School, building up drumline programs in those schools. It was in those schools that I got to meet a lot of representatives from drill team organizations in the city. A lot of kids that I taught at Germantown, Strawberry Mansion, and Kensington were active participants in the drill team community. So it was really cool having that experience. I also got to see kind of the landscape of Philadelphia music programs as it was, which at that time was still pretty strong. Unfortunately, in the 2000s, late 2000s, there were some pretty severe budget cuts, which started to eliminate band programs from high schools. So we started leaning more towards having to provide funding for school music programs and after-school music programs from nonprofit providers such as Musicopia, Settlement, other entities like that. So that's when, in the 2010s, I was approached by Musicopia to become their head of drumlines. And I started to get experience grant writing and building drumlines organizations from within Musicopia as the artistic director. That's where I got my first grant writing experience. For Musicopia, I was able to write close to $250,000 worth of grants for them to purchase equipment and also to bring in staff people to help assist with after-school drumline programs and programs during the day. And then after exiting Musicopia in 2020, I decided to invest in my organization, Mad Beats Philly, which until that time was literally just a drumline in a parking lot at the Berks L stop for about 5 or 6 years of just alumni and upperclassmen of my school programs that wanted to drum together. And we started to become more education-based because of the need imposed by COVID to not perform anymore, not have those opportunities, and instead have to do a lot of education and a lot of teaching. So it was at that time that I started writing grants on behalf of Mad Beats Philly, developing a website for Mad Beats Philly, a vision of Mad Beats Philly that included much more training for drummers from Philadelphia to become performers and teachers under mentorship from professional drummers and professional teachers. And so we established a vision for Mad Beats Philly, a mission statement, and I had some help from some very amazing educators like Mr. Carter right here, and also Mr. Bryson and Mr. Doug Payne right here, and Ms. Alondra Abrams was also helping with some of the early teacher training sessions that we did. And I'm proud to say that Mad Beats Philly is a bona fide organization impacting Philadelphia's music education ecosystem at this time, training performers and artists from Philadelphia neighborhoods to be classroom music teachers and drumline teachers at over 20 programs across the city at this point. So that's been all grassroots from the ground up. We have a very diverse portfolio of earned income from school programs, also grants that we write, and also performance-based income. So I'm happy to say that my journey with Mad Beats Philly over the last 3 or 4 years has positioned me well to give everybody kind of a step-by-step process on how to build your organization into one that can achieve income from different streams, from the performing, teaching, as well as grant writing, and also give you all the steps that go into that as far as how to form a bank account for your organization to separate finances, to provide fiscal transparency, which grant-making organizations like to see. They like to see where their money's going, where the money that's coming into your organization is going, and also how to get all the paperwork necessary to become either an LLC or a nonprofit, and to make that decision which is best for you, LLC or nonprofit, because they both have pros and cons. Also, how to build a marketing profile that includes not only social media, but digital marketing as well, and also the question of branding, which is actually how to present your organization, present your organization's mission, its vision, and what it does in a way that distinguishes you from other organizations doing the same thing in Philadelphia. And finally, how to find those grants, how to find the ones that are best for you, and how to get assistance writing them. So I put together this comprehensive Google Doc, which has many parts to it. If you'd like to advance to the next screen, you're going to see a table of contents. Each of these parts is bookmarked. So if you tap the blue part 1, part 2, part 3, 4, 5, and 6, that will take you to the section of the Google Doc which goes more in depth about that, so you can kind of pick and choose what you need. If you're already an LLC or a nonprofit, obviously you may not need to check out part 2. Maybe you want to skip right away to part 3. If you just want to find out about marketing, you go to part 4. And if you don't want to get right to where the money is from the grants, you go right to part 5 and check those links out. So it enables you to jump around a little bit. The vision for this document is to have fillable action items in there so that when you've read about something and it prompts you to be able to say, hey, who in my network knows about marketing or who in my network knows about grant writing, then you can actually list out the people in your network and use this as an actionable document to guide your work going through these steps. So we're going to start with part 1, goals and roles. So there's a saying that says that if a ship sails without direction to any harbor, then it's just going to kind of float around in the middle of the sea. So you want to make sure you have goals for your organization. Those are short, medium, and long-term goals. The first domain of your goals should be focused on growth, meaning how do you want your organization to grow? Do you want to have more membership in your organization? If you're a business, do you want to be able to sell more of your product? Do you want to sell more of your service? Do you want to reach a different consumer base? Do you want to sell more of your product or service in a wider area? Do you want to be able to charge more for your goods or services? So these goals are really important, and this is what I'm talking about with the action items. Each of these things has spaces for you to kind of brainstorm and figure out where you want your organization or small business to go, and list it out within each of those domains. The next domain is equipment, material assets, and physical space. So maybe you're renting space right now, and maybe you would like to own a space. Maybe you'd like to own a building, or maybe you'd like to co-own a building or co-rent a building instead of just having access to it a couple hours a week. So that's something that you can put as a goal. Material assets, depending upon your organization or your business, that means different things, right? So if you're a drill team, maybe it means you want to buy new drums. Maybe it means you want to increase the quality of your uniforms or props. So that becomes more of a financial goal. And it maybe might have to do with finding places to get things at a more affordable cost, which will kind of work to meet you halfway with the finances. The material assets could also be if you're owning or running a small business, instead of renting equipment to make your product or perform your service, maybe owning that equipment. So all of these goals are important, and they need to be very much things that you feel like you can accomplish. Like the first 3-month goal, these are like little W's on your schedule. You know what I mean? So if you can meet an attainable goal within 3 months, right, and say that you did it, that's going to give you much more confidence and energy towards getting to the 1-year goals. And it might actually inform where you can get in 1 year. So if you're, say I want to do X, Y, and Z in 3 months, and it's not achievable, that's going to get you feeling kind of down about getting to your 1-year goal, because it might feel like you can't do it. But if you make your 3-month goal achievable, something you feel like you can get to 3 months from now, that's going to give you more energy towards year 1 or year 2, and it'll also help you inform whether or not these goals that you put down for those domains in year 1 or year 2, whatever it is a year from now, whether that's going to be achievable, right? Because of what kind of effort and how difficult it was to get to 3 months, your goals for 3 months. So it's really important to break these things out. So there's also the domain of staff and personnel support, right? So if you're a small business owner doing everything by yourself, you're doing the marketing by yourself, you're doing the administrating by yourself, the equipment acquisition by yourself, the transportation acquisition, maybe your 3-month goal is to have a partner for your business, right? So this is really, really important stuff, because burnout is real too, especially if you're doing this as a side hustle or a side business, which most of us are. Then having assistance is a very, very important goal. All right, so the staff and personnel support could be the one that makes the biggest impact on your morale and how you feel about how you're doing. And of course, the budget That's one thing that you want to think about too. So you want to be real with how much money you're putting into your business or organization, what kind of revenue you're getting out of it, and then think about how much you want that to grow, right? Like right now, if you're losing money on your venture or you're losing money in your organization, maybe your 3-month goal is just to break even. And so you think about how I can do fundraisers, how I can do pick up more performance work, or maybe a teaching contract, or maybe write a small grant to get myself to zero by 3 months. So then maybe my spouse doesn't threaten me with divorce because now I can pay my bills. You know what I mean? And I know that's real for me because Mad Beats was a hobby, an expensive hobby of mine for a long time, and it was right on the edge there. So, so 1-year goals, 5-year goals, and 5-year goals are supposed to be dreams. That's where you're supposed to think big, right? So that's where you're supposed to think, okay, if my budget right now is $10,000, in 5 years, maybe I want it to be $100,000 or $150,000. What can I do with that big chunk? You know what I mean? And that's where you dream. So the 3 months are something achievable to give you the dub, the win, right? The 1 year is something that is going to be informed by how easy or difficult it was to get the 3 months, and then the 5 years is for your dreams. Okay? Really, really important. Your roles are just as important as your goals. Okay? So every organization, every business has a director. Can we scroll up just a little bit? So, just scroll back down to where it says roles. Perfect. So, I just brainstormed a lot of responsibilities of what it takes me to run Mad Beats. Strategic planning, right? Do I want to be teaching, running education programs in new schools? Do I want to be running bigger drumline programs in some schools? Or do I want to increase the comprehensive aspects of my program and offer more instruments to different age groups? Who teaches the music if you have a performing arts organization? Who teaches the movement if you have a dance-based performing arts organization? Who's providing the transportation, both of equipment and performer? Who's doing the uniform design? The communication to membership and also to parents. I know that takes a long time. When I found an administrator to start handling my communication, that put 10 hours a week back on my schedule. And it gave me a lot of breathing room. So that was really important. That was 10 hours that I used to look for more grants, to just talk to more people about what Mad Beats can offer. It's time that I took to walk my dog every day for a half an hour instead of 5 minutes, which made my dog happier. It's time that I took to just relax, So being able to delegate these responsibilities, super important. And know who do I have, right, in my network that can fill these roles. So maybe if I'm the director and I'm doing all of this, and maybe, I don't know, I think I'm still maybe the best music teacher or the best person to be the educator. Maybe I can find somebody to take care of all the operation stuff. Maybe I can find somebody to take care of the transportation, the equipment finding, just the day-to-day, the communication stuff. Maybe if I'm sick of doing all the teaching because I'm just burned out with that, maybe I want to find a really good teacher and put my money there, put my resources there, and then take care of the other stuff so I can fall back and not worry so much about teaching. So it's the way that you delegate these responsibilities through all these different potential positions is really, really going to be important to how you feel. And I know for me, like being somebody who is emotional about the work that I do, if I feel good about what I'm doing, I'm going to do a better job at it, and everybody in my organization is going to feel better about it. So really, really important just to be real with yourself. What am I doing? Who in my network is good at what, and who can I delegate these responsibilities to? What is the cost of acquiring that personnel too? Some people will do it just out of the goodness of their heart. Some people need to be paid for it. These are all things that you need to consider. And some people will say that they want to do it out of the goodness of their heart, but they really want to be paid, or they're not going to stick around for a long time. And that's something you got to be real about too. All right, I know I experienced that quite a few times. So all this is really important. Let's go down to part 1 for the do nows. So this is where I'll just scroll back a little bit, tiny little bit. Thank you so much. So if you're a drill team director or a performing arts organization director, right now you should list every member of your organization who's in high school and what they're good at besides performing. Mad Beats Philly just found an amazing social media manager in one of our rising 9th graders who plays bass drum. She's killing it in Instagram right now, like just killing the Instagram account. So your high school kids are a great asset, right? And they know how to do a lot of stuff besides performing, and they're going to be really invested in it, and they're going to give you a great representation of what your organization is doing because they're in the middle of it, right? No matter even if you're holding the camera and you're recording, they're going to be able to go through that video and pick the best element that's going to appeal to their friends and people in their age group that's going to catch their eye. Because social media and your marketing is all about what you can do in the first 3 seconds, right? So, I think when I first started to do social media, I was putting up like full minute clips on Instagram. And nothing that cool really happened until the 30-second mark, and I wasn't really getting a lot of attention. But then when I started really going through that, finding the best angles, finding where that moment, that wow moment happened, and trimming it right to that point, and then putting it on there, people were not scrolling anymore. They were just, hitting the like button or, sharing it or whatever. So that's an instinct that the kids in your organization that grew up with social media, with technology, they have an eye for that. It's not so much of a learning curve. So delegate to your high school kids for sure, and provide them a stipend. If you have the money to do that, pay your social media manager $20 a week, $30 a week. It doesn't feel like a lot to us, but for a 14-year-old kid, that feels like a lot. I would say even pay them out of pocket if you're bringing in no money at all. So they can be good at all types of things besides that. Some of them might be really good at communicating with all your parents and keeping all the communication straight. Some of them may be really good. They really want to do the inventory on the equipment. They really want to see whether all your equipment's in great shape and keep track of what needs fixing. You know what I mean? Like, they might be an organizational genius. They might be maybe somebody has got an uncle with a big SUV, can pull your equipment around and save you some money on that. Maybe they know somebody with a bus. They can save you a lot of money on that. So just make sure you know the strength of the people in your organization. Anybody who's 14 or older, have conversations. Who do you know in your family that can do what? And just go back to that previous page and show them all the responsibilities that you're doing on your own right now, or that you're splitting with maybe one other person. Next group of people in your organization that can help, parents. All right? If you don't spend a lot of time having conversations with your parents before and after practice, you need to start doing that. And if your parents aren't dropping your kids off or picking them up, you need to pick up the phone and talk to them or text them just to let them know how they're doing. First thing that I do, I always wish all my parents a happy Father's Day, happy Mother's Day individually. I like to celebrate birthdays. I like to just celebrate, what they're doing in their life. I like to offer condolences if there's a loss, because it just builds a personal relationship. And the more that you get to doing that, the more you're going to have those open conversations where they might say, yeah, I got somebody who runs a catering business, so let's do a fundraiser where we're going to bring food out and we're just going to charge you for the cost of the food, and then we're going to donate everything else to the organization. The conversations that you have with these people individually are going to make the difference between that and them keeping all that information to themselves and just dropping their kids off. So really, really important. Or maybe even just sending them on SEPTA, depending upon what their capacity is for transportation. So this is really, really important, just getting to know the people in your organization. And I'm going to say that if you're a director right now who's doing the instruction, you're going to be so close to the product and to the performance that you may not actually think to even take time to do that. So it might be really important to delegate the music instruction, the movement instruction first. So you just take a step back and you start focusing more on the people in your organization, the people in your network. You have capacity for that. So it all goes back to that understanding how to delegate, to give yourself the emotional space, the mental health space to be able to see things more from a zoom out and really get to know the people that you have. And the final action item here is taking a look at your personal network, right? Think about all the social media posts that you comment on, all the people that you talk to. Which of your friends has got a bus? Which of your friends has got a van? Which of your friends knows somebody that owns a catering business? Which of your friends knows somebody who makes uniforms? All these other things. Just list these people out. So down here, I just listed a couple of these skills, right? Outreach to businesses in your community, right? So if you know somebody who knows everybody who has a business, you can say, hey, I don't have anybody who can print t-shirts. Do you know anybody who prints t-shirts? And if they know 20 other small business owners, they're going to know somebody, right? So that has to do with the investment in your friends' lives, and making sure you know the people in your community. Also, the outreach to businesses, because businesses, if you're a 501c3 nonprofit or if you're an LLC with a fiscal sponsor, they can make donations and run fundraisers and get tax deductions for the money that they're giving, right? Assisting with transportation and operations support. People who can assist with fiscal transparency and money management. We're about to get to a segment of this document where it asks you to make Google Sheets with sections for each tax domain. There's about 6 or 7 tax domains for small businesses that are all about write-offs and all about just concentrating the expenses for, say, home office supplies, equipment, transportation, meals, and payroll, each in their own categories. If you know somebody with accounting experience, or you know somebody with QuickBooks experience, they can help you organize your finances like that. And that makes all the difference in getting a grant award when a granting organization wants to take a look at your books. If it's all nice and neat and it's broken out and they can see exactly where the money's going, they're going to be like, absolutely, we're going to give you that $10,000 grant or that $20,000 grant or whatever you're asking for, because they know that you're organized with your finances and you're going to make the best use of every dollar they're giving you. So if you're not comfortable with that, list people in your network who are, and then have that conversation with them. This is just personal salesmanship, right? My cousin Ben, who's a salesman for a really successful company, he said, great salesmanship is not about getting a yes, it's about actually getting a decision. It's about just getting a yes or a no, because you don't want to convince people who don't want to do something to do it, because then you're either going to get a mediocre result, a late result, or a fractured relationship, because you're trying to force somebody or talk somebody into doing something they don't really want to do. So really, you just want to talk to as many people as possible and get a yes or a no. And if it's a no, you just move on to the next person. But the object here, the bottom part of this, is just to fill in people in your network or people that are second in your network that other people in your network know that can do all of these things. So then, if you need fiscal, if you need your books, somebody take a look at your books. If you need somebody to help with grant finding or grant writing, if you need somebody to do your website, check out your website content, check out video editing, videography, then you know who to talk to. So it's all about just being organized, so then when these tasks come up, we go right to next. Okay, so a very, very popular myth that needs busting is you have to be a nonprofit to get grants. That is absolutely not true. Don't do it if you don't want to do the work for it. And that was the first, when we tried to incorporate Mad Beats as a nonprofit in 2021, I had a great conversation with my friend Andre Wright from Give and Go Athletics, and he said, don't be a nonprofit. And we were like, whoa, what are you talking about? Like, we just spent $2,000 getting this nonprofit paperwork, and now you're telling us not to do a nonprofit. And then he said, because it's going to take 3 years, you got to build up your portfolio with all these grants, you got to have a board, you got to report your taxes 4 times a year, you got to report every dollar and where it's going. And if you're not willing to do that work, don't do it, because you're only going to build a reputation for yourself as a nonprofit that doesn't do the work that's needed to qualify for the big grants. So if you want to build your organization to be a $500,000, $1 million arts organization, to get state and federal funding, to run programs in public schools, run programs in the juvenile justice system, all that other thing, you want to do big volume of work, please go for that 501c3. But if you're looking to stay under $250,000, $100,000 to $200,000 range, you only need an LLC to do that. And all you're going to end up doing is giving up 5 to 10% of only your grant money to a fiscal sponsor. And in return, they're going to do all your payroll for you. They're going to do all your books. They're going to do all the reporting, so you don't even have to worry about that. When they say, "Hey, where did this money go?" You just say, "Talk to them." I just ask for the payments. I send them the vouchers and all that. All right, so really, really important. And a 501c3 will cost you between $1,500 and $3,000 to create, and that's before you even see any grant money. An LLC will cost you $150. And you can do it all yourself in a couple hours. So much easier. Well, let's just go down to pros and cons anyway. All right, so a 501c3, you can keep 100% of all your grant awards. So if you get $10,000, you keep $10,000. You don't have to give anybody any money. If you're eligible for grants, you can be eligible for grants of unlimited amounts. After a 3 to 5 year startup period, you can go for a $500,000, $1 million grants from state and federal institutions, which are much higher value, but that's only if you want to do the volume. If you want to run programming for 500 kids in 5 different locations. You'll never pay sales tax on any purchases, so that's a plus, obviously. And donations that you receive will be tax deductible. So people can give you $500 and get a write-off with your FEIN. However, the cons are it's much more expensive to form an LLC. Once again, up to $3,000 to start a 501c3, as opposed to $150 plus whatever your startup account is for your bank account to do an LLC. You have to report every dollar earned and spent, sometimes up to 4 times a year, depending upon the size of your organization. You got to do your taxes 4 times a year. All right. Tax reporting could be expensive and time-consuming. Paying an accountant to handle your taxes for a 501c3 is $500 to $600, $700 a pop. So you're going to spend just $2,000 on accounting fees per year right off the bat. And then there's strict requirements on governance. If you founded the nonprofit, you're not even in charge of it. Your board is in charge of it. So you have to get 7, 9, 11, 13 people, depending upon the budget that you have. And they're going to make all the decisions for you, including when to fire you if they don't like you. So they can literally kick you out of your own organization. So it's do what you want, but it's not for me. Organizing as an LLC is only a couple $100 to start, maybe $150. You only need to share your financial records and budgets to qualify for grants. And you don't need to provide written explanations of spending or earning unless the grant specifically asks for it. Tax reporting is quick and easy. Usually an accountant will just charge you an extra $100 to $200 for throwing your LLC on top of your own personal taxes. And the founder of the LLC is going to make governing decisions, and you can even offer a percentage of your LLC ownership to a partner. So if you want to bring somebody on board who's great with operations and you trust that person, you can give them 30% of the LLC, 50% of the LLC, and you can just split it. And then you have fun. You work with your friends, right? The cons are you have to pay 5 to 10% of most grant awards to a fiscal sponsor who has a 501c3 status. If you need a fiscal sponsor, I put in 2 links right here of the Urban Affairs Coalition and the Philadelphia Cultural Fund, who will find you a fiscal sponsor to work with you and receive grants on your behalf. So it's easy. There's organizations in Philly that want to do this work for you. One of the cons is you can only apply for grants as an LLC up to $50,000 at a time. But if you want to get $100,000 in grant money, that just means you apply for 3 or 4 grants, which is honestly, if you did one, you can do a couple because you just keep the language, right? And then you just cut and paste. So most of the grants ask the same questions. What does your organization do? How long has it been around? How does it help? What does your community need? Okay, cool. I'm just going to cut and paste that and drop it into the different applications. So once you have the language set, you can fill out 5, 6, 7 applications much faster after you have the first one written. You're not going to be eligible for state or federal grants in most cases. You're going to pay sales tax, and donations are not tax deductible unless they're made to your fiscal sponsor, and then it's routed to you. But in the interest of running an organization under a $250,000 budget, I would say LLC is definitely the way to go. So the do nows, you can just come up a little bit. You want to list the names of people in your network who have started a 501c3 or serve on a board, and I'm sure you know at least one. So you can ask them about the process of the 501c3. You can list the names of people in your network who have started an LLC, which is any small business that reports its taxes. So I know everybody knows a couple people like that. You want to list the names of accountants or tax professionals in your network, so you can ask them about this process. You want to click here to learn the steps to apply for documentation needed to start an LLC. Right off the top of my head, you need to register your name with the state of Pennsylvania and make sure that nobody else has that name. And you do a certificate of organization, certificate of subsistence, I think, with the state of PA, and then you take all that and fill out your federal FEIN tax number application, which gives you the number to be able to pay people, to be able to receive money and spend money as an LLC separate from yourself. Now, what's the advantage of that? Is that if somebody, a customer or a performer or somebody else gets hurt while performing with your organization, or when your organization is performing for them, they can't sue you personally. So your possessions are protected. Your house is protected. Your car is protected. People in your family are protected. They can sue you for what your organization owns. So they can sue you for all your assets, and then you have to maybe sell all your equipment to settle with them, but that's it. Once they've run through your assets, that's all they can get from you. So that's why an LLC is so important. So please, if you're running an organization of any kind or a small business or you're an entrepreneur, set up an LLC. Even if you're only one person, what you do is a single member LLC. And what that does is, as long as you're receiving money from performances as a single person or receiving money for goods and services, you can still separate yourself from your personal assets. So that's it with that. Next part, part 3, fiscal transparency. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions so far? Because now's the time to ask. He's giving you a lot of information, and we don't want to wait until you've gotten it all, and then you had something you thought about, and then, oh man, I forgot what I was going to ask. So now's the time to ask about those things. It'll come back to you.
Okay.
Make sure you write them down. Write your questions down, okay?
Yeah, I was thinking while I was talking.
Right, right.
Yeah. My vision for this is maybe we can provide some place to put questions, so we can do an FAQ.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And then as we use the Hive to
the
answer.
card that they have, they filled out. It was
Fantastic, it's a great idea. So as we answer these questions, people can then look at the question history. Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Cool. That was great. Thank you, Alondra. Appreciate that. Fiscal transparency, financial records and budgets. First thing you have to do to get grant money is separate your finances from your organization finances. So you got to create a bank account for your organization. If a grant says, I want to see your checking account record, right, or I want to see your budget, don't send them your checking account or your Cash App history or something written down like I spent this money on this and this money on that. It's not going to get it. There's a couple city grants, I think, that you don't have to report, and you can get those. But if you're trying to get the $10,000 grants, the $20,000 grants, you need to have your finances separated. Everything's got to be nice and neat. So you got to open a small business account to receive payments and track spending. You can use QuickBooks, but the way that I found to be highly effective is you just open a business debit card or credit card from your bank account and do all your spending and receiving the payments to that card. And that's just going to list everything out in a checking history. So it's like QuickBooks for $3.99. You don't spend any money on it. You don't have to photocopy any receipts. It's just going to track all your spending and all your earning through the business debit card report. All right. Next, you link your business debit card to Cash App, Venmo, or Apple Cash to pay people that do work for you. And I have not had anybody who does not accept either Cash App, Venmo, or Apple Cash for payment. So the other thing you can do is Zelle too. Some people like Zelle. Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, I would suggest to do this for because they do all the services like paper checks. They have email support, so you don't even have to worry about doing a chat or a call with somebody that doesn't really not that helpful. You email somebody, you talk to somebody right in Philadelphia, they help you out. Also, way less likely to get scammed if you're with Philadelphia Federal Credit Union because they're so small that scammers it's not even on scammers' radar pretty much. So, great option. Before you apply for grants or report your taxes for your business, you have to create a Google Sheet. So what you want to do is before you have a website or a website account, you just create a Gmail account with your organization name at gmail.com. And you go into the Google waffle, which is how we call the 9 dots, in the upper right-hand corner. That gives you access to Google Forms, Google Sheets, Google Docs, all that. Open up the sheets, and you organize your tax categories. You have a payroll category, equipment category, marketing costs, and incidentally, you can write off all of your uniforms and apparel and all of your website under marketing. So every dollar that you spend on t-shirts, on uniforms, for anything, for a banner, to put a vehicle wrap on your van that has your organization on the side, that's all marketing costs. It's completely tax-free, it's completely tax-deductible, after taxes, of course. Home office expenses, including not only printing, paper, and computers, but you can write off the portion of your home that you use to conduct your business. So if you have a 1,200 square foot house or 1,200 square foot apartment, you can write off half the mortgage payment or up to half of the rent per month for your business or organization, and you get that all tax deducted. Sir?
And you say that, right?
Yeah.
You need to give them proof that your house or apartment is business.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what you have to do is, as long as your business is registered to your home address, then that's proof that you're conducting a business in a home office. I think.
And there is a portion on your tax form before that,
Yeah.
so you can use that too.
I
And
know.
it'll ask you the square footage that you're using for what portion, because so.
Yeah, me too. So I have, my wife and I own a house. I write off a certain percentage of that for Mad Beats, and she writes off a certain percent because she works from home as something having to do with digital content or digital creation for a tech company. So because she uses that as a home office, she writes off a certain percentage. Okay, so that means that, and that's your utilities too. So if your electric bill is $3,000 over the course of the year, you use 50% of your house as your home office, you write off $1,500. If you have cable, Wi-Fi, heat, anything, yeah. If you have repairs done to your home, it's that percentage. It's deducted off of all that. So it's tremendously helpful. Tremendously helpful. Now your business, after a certain number of years, needs to show a certain amount of revenue, or they can audit you for claiming you're running a business with no revenue and taking all these tax deductions. So it can't be a shell company, right? It's got to actually generate revenue. But, yeah. So food. Whenever you're conducting business, you're paying. You're feeding your members. You're feeding your contractors. You're taking your members and your contractors to Dorney Park for like a spirit outing just to enjoy themselves. You can write all that off, right? And that's also part of your organization's budget. Transportation, you can write off van rentals, bus rentals, fuel for those vans and buses. And there, you can also deduct 60 cents per mile that you drive your personal vehicle for the LLC. So if your total mileage in a year is 15,000, you can write off however many miles you drove to and from your practices, your performances, wherever you went to get the uniforms, wherever you went to pick up the food for your kids, wherever you went to talk to somebody about something, all of that, 60 cents a mile deduction for your personal vehicle. So that's, if you want to do a good job of showing fiscal transparency, you got to break all that out in a Google sheet, all right? The next thing is, you can create a tab on that sheet to track your income as well. There's earned income from performances and parades. That means if you're going out, you're doing a parade, you're getting X amount of money to do that parade, that goes into your earned income. You list that out. On this day we did this parade, we earned this much. Earned income from your educational programs. If you run any kind of movement or drumming instruction or anything in a school, all that earned income goes into your LLC. You also declare that. Depending upon, you don't need to report grant awards if you're an LLC for your personal tax appointment because it's being done through a fiscal sponsor, right? So you're not liable for that money. The fiscal sponsor is. That's another advantage of being an LLC. But if you get payments from the grant award for your direction of the group, meaning you're taking $1,000 out of that $10,000 for your time directing the group, then you have to pay taxes on that. That needs to be a personal payment to you because the organization or foundation that gave you the grant money wants to see where that money went, and the fiscal sponsor has to report that money as going to different places, okay? Donations. If you're an LLC, once again, I don't believe you need to report because if it's tax deductible for the donor, the person who donated it, it goes to the fiscal sponsor first. So anything that's routed to your fiscal sponsor does not need to be reported on your personal taxes. But it does need to be shown in your accounting because the amount of budget that you have per year determines your eligibility for grant awards. There's a lot of grants that are $5,000 to $20,000 depending upon the size of your organization. If you can show $30,000 in your budget, you'll probably get around $5,000 or $6,000. If you can show $100,000 in your budget, you're going to get closer to $20,000 because they're giving you money based on the percentage of your annual budget. Okay, so it's really important to show as much income as possible, and that's why we want to be really diligent with reporting all of the expenses too in the tax categories. And your accountant is going to love this. If you show up with everything broken out into the tax categories, it's probably going to cost you less too because you're not going to sit there for 6 hours. It may only take an hour and 15 minutes. So, right? Learn that the hard way. So, creating a budget for the current year, very, very important. All right? First thing you want to do to take your spending for each of these categories, subtotal it out so that you have each total for each category listed down, and that's going to give you your total amount of spending and earned income year to date. So if you're trying to calculate your budget for all of 2024 and we're only in June, obviously you're only halfway through the year, you're only getting half the money that you're going to make for the whole year probably, and you're only spending about half of what you're going to spend for the whole year. So this is where it gets really important to estimate the amount you're going to spend by the end of the fiscal year. If your fiscal year is January 1st to December 31st, which is what it is for most LLCs, and you can also elect that if you're a nonprofit too. You don't have to go July to June, despite what a lot of people say. You can elect your own fiscal year once you form your nonprofit. Then what's going to happen is you're going to estimate or project how much money you're going to make or spend by the end of the year, and that becomes your budget for 2024. Now, it's really important that you get reasonable percentages for each tax category, okay? Your payroll, the amount that you pay to your staff and you pay to yourself to direct and you pay to your performers, that should total around 40 to 50% of your total budget, okay? And that's just going off of good business practice. A really, really great business that really values its employees pays the employees up to 50% of its total budget. Organizations that are not known for respecting their employees, a lot of the time it's only up to 30%. They're giving the rest of the money to their board. They're giving the rest of the money to stockholders, things like that. So believe it or not, 50% of your total organization's revenue, your total business revenue, if that's coming back to you in payroll, that means you're like at the top as far as how you're respecting the workforce as well as yourself. So I know for me, I was like 50%, that sounds like, where's the other half going, right? But that's, I mean, a corporation like Amazon is probably only putting 20 to 25% back in its workers' pockets, even though its budget is close to $1 trillion, which is ridiculous. The equipment, marketing, home office, food, and transportation, those should be about 5 to 15% each. Okay, so just trying to show the right amount of spending in each category is really important. If you're spending half of your budget on transportation, it's going to be a head scratcher. You know what I mean? Like, where's that all going? You know, are you renting limousines to go to your competitions? Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? If you're spending half your money on food, they're going to wonder if you're just taking yourself out to dinner all the time, or if, you know, what's going on with that. So the reasonable percentages, once again, payroll to your contractors, the people that do work for you, maybe even your performers. If you have paid performances, should be about 50% of your total budget. Everything else should be 5 to 15% each. All right? And if you want to create a budget for the upcoming year, you can project 10 to 25% growth if you feel like you're headed in that direction. If you feel like it's going to be tough to continue to operate at the level you're at, you probably just want to claim again the same amount that you did this year. And the purpose for that is, once again, if you're trying to get people to donate or you're trying to get people to give you grant money, you want to show a lot of income, because that's going to, people are going to want to invest in you if you show consistent budget or growth, right? If you're going down, then people are going to be like, hey, what's going on? You know? Okay. Next. Oh, any questions? Okay, marketing. It's a lot of fun once you understand it. It's super frustrating until you do. I know that from experience. I spent a long time not understanding how marketing worked. I was really frustrated. I want to shout out Fabian Brown, who's a marketing coach. Right during COVID, I engaged with Fabian. I paid him for weekly marketing coaching sessions, and he trained me on how to balance the whole social media, the digital marketing, and the branding, to really create an online presence for Mad Beats that really told people what we did and gave them a feeling about what we did too, right? There's a saying that says, people won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel, right? So, yeah, and we all know that from personal experience. So if you know how to make people feel a certain way with your branding, right, with how you present your organization, that's the most powerful tool. And to do that, you got to know 3 things. You got to engage one audience, which means you got to figure out, who am I marketing to, right? Like, who wants to know about what I'm doing? That could be people who are invested in what your organization does. It could be people who you want to invest, right? Like, think about, what do the grant funding organizations right now want to see? And you can play to that. If they want to see more student voice, if you want to see that the kids are having buy-in, you want to interview your kids and show them that your members are important, their opinions, right? If they want to see excellence, you just give them your hottest bits, like the strongest performances, right? If they want to see a lot of people, lots of video of everybody in your group performing, right? If they want to see that you're serving younger kids, you get a lot of shots of your younger kids. If you want to see that your emerging adults are having leadership opportunities, you focus your marketing on that. So you got to know what your audience wants to see, and you got to give them that. Now, who wants to know the most about what you do? And the answer is those whose problems you are solving with your services. The strongest motivator in marketing is solving problems, right? You gotta love the problem, not your solution. So you may think that you have the answer to somebody's problems and it may not be hitting, and you gotta think about, re-strategize how you're doing it. So if there's a big problem right now in Philadelphia with youth and gangs, youth and drugs, violence, all that other stuff, you wanna sell that you're providing safe space and you're providing professional identity, a strong personal identity that's going to be a deterrent for these kids. They're going to have such a strong identity that when some kid asks them if they want to go jump somebody or if they want to sell something, they're going to say nope, because I know I got these skills, I know I'm strong, I know I have a future, no thank you, right? That's the best defense is a good offense, right? So you want to build up your kids. And you want to put that forth too. I want to shout out Tony Royster from Positive Movement Entertainment. He's got the best sales pitch in the whole city, and it goes: put down the guns, and pick up some drums. Right? That's why he's popping up #1 on Google when you search for drum lines, because he's got the slogan, and he's all about that. He's been about that for 10, 15 years. He's got Elmo. Everybody knows about Philly Elmo. He's got the marketing game on lock. All right, and then also shout out West Powelton. West Powelton has the Sixers thing, right? And they've also been doing super high quality work with great visibility for about 30 years in one part of the city. So that's a case study in social proof, because they've just been doing the same thing consistently with the same people at a really high level for a long time. So those are two great organizations if you're trying to figure out how to build your marketing and build your presence, build your brand identity. Really great people to check out, organizations to check out. So, if you have a service, whose problems are you solving with this service, right? And that's who your audience is. Because if you got people offering grant money for violence and drug sales and gang deterrence, then you want to focus on that age group. You want to show your teenagers doing a great job being focused, so that when that grant organization goes back through your social media, they're going to see that you're serving the people that need serving. Delivering one message. Here's a great thing to fill out. What does your organization or small business do? Why do you do it better than anyone else? You also want to be able to tell people the difference, right? Like, hey, we're a performing arts organization, movement company, dance company, but here's why we do it better. Here's what we do, and here's how we do it different. That's a really, really important thing you got to be able to tell. Testimonials of your participants or people that you perform for are great. You got to mix it up. It can't just all be performance footage. It's got to be pictures of your members. It's got to be testimonials from your members, and then it's got to be performance footage. You want to try to vary the kind of content that's going out through your social media channels, so they see that you're not just one-dimensional. All right. So you got to be intentional about it. You got to schedule time. You can do all your interviews with your members, all your interviews with your staff, with your parents. Get your parents to talk about how much it's impacting them. You put all those in a folder and you drop one of those videos in a week. It's called batching content. All right? Sir.
Okay. Okay. Could they include sponsors that gave, donations?
Absolutely. Yep. Because that's showing confidence in your organization. It's showing that people are so confident in what you're doing that they're giving you their money. That's amazing social proof. It's also going to inspire other people to do the same, because the next thing is compelling people to take action to engage with you or help you achieve your goals. So if you list how your customers engage with you, that's showing that, hey, here's how you can help us out. Tell a friend about our organization. Tell your friend to book us for your prom send-off. Tell your friend to book us for this birthday party or this wedding, right? And you can also list how people in your network can help you. So if you put very, very prominently that somebody made a donation, other people may want to make a donation. And then you have to make it easy for them to do that too. You don't want somebody who's trying to give you $100, can't figure out how to do it. So you got to put a link in your bio of Instagram or Facebook, or better yet, a link tree where you tap something and it comes up with 5 different things, links to your website, right? All this other stuff. There's got to be a donate button right there. And the donate can be through, we do all donations through our fiscal sponsor. How else can we do it? GoFundMe, whatever they go.
Zephy,
Mhm.
yeah, there's all types of different ways you can do it. PayPal,
Mhm.
yeah, hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can set up an account for yourself, so you just tap that button and you can donate, right? So, great stuff. I know when Mr. Why Not PME performs, they have a flyer with a QR code on it.
Mhm.
That, a lot of people don't carry cash anymore. They're just going to scan that and they're going to give them $5, right? Venmo or Cash App. You got your social media marketing streams. I know we're running short on time, so just going to kind of blitz the rest of this, and then you can ask questions. Back up just a little bit. Really, this is all in the document. Back up just a little more, but you got to understand that different social media marketing streams do different things. Instagram accounts are great for short videos that are going to hit you with the exciting thing in 3 seconds, right? Because everybody's just scrolling. So you got to have something that they want to look at within the first couple seconds. It's the best way of reaching people ages 12 to 40, for sure. Instagram's the best way to do it. Facebook is great for showing the live view videos, and also if you have, like, if you went out and did a whole day with your kids and you have a picture of them having a great time, you also have a clip of them performing, and you also have a picture of all the food that they got, right? Those are 3 things you can put on a Facebook post that people can see all those things right there. Carousel posts where you got to swipe, a lot of people don't have time for that. They won't do it. So Facebook is great for just putting everything out in one place so everybody can see what happened. YouTube, same thing. You can share the landscape videos and you boost your Google visibility at the same time. There's 2 different marketing platforms. There's social media and there's also Google. Google is when people type into a website search bar, they say drumline. And then the first couple drum lines that are the most searched for come up. And that's why we say search engine optimization. Yeah, SEO, which is a huge industry, right? That's trying to get people to appear higher in Google because everybody knows the top 3 in any time you search for something, it's all in business, right? And it's also going to create your revenue. If you can get up to 1,000 subscribers and your videos are consistently hitting a couple thousand views each, you're going to start to make a couple $100 a month just on the YouTube channel because they're selling ad space. Golden rule of social media: comment, 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 comment. Okay? Comment on everybody's post. Anybody that you want to see what you're doing, comment on their post because that's going to make you pop up in their feed. It works opposite. It's like karma. All right? The second golden rule is be respectful and be genuine. I can't stress this enough. All right? If you're not feeling great, if you're feeling whatever, don't start dropping comments. Just put it down, come back the next day. You know what I mean? Because you want once you drop that comment, it's there for life. It's there for eternity. People are going to see it. You may feel bad about it later.
Don't get in Twitter jail.
That's right. And you have to be genuine too. Like a lot of people, when they do drop a comment on something, sometime, I remember a couple of years ago, it was just a fire, or 2 fires, or 3 fires all the time. But if you take time to say, I really love what you do for your kids, I run the same organization, I love that at the end of that video you did that, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, they watched the whole video.
Yeah.
Wow. And then they'll be like, oh, you were the guy who watched the whole video. Hey, what's up? And you got like an immediate friend, right? So it's really important just to be genuine with that. Moving on, digital and SEO marketing. YouTube, you boost Google visibility and SEO rankings, which is going to boost your organization. When people search for drumline, whatever it is going to come up. If you have a YouTube channel that's popping and you have a website, it's going to push you further up the rankings. Website is very important. If you don't spend, this is going to frustrate probably a lot of people. If you don't spend $5,000 to $10,000 on a website, it's probably not going to do a whole lot for you. But what it will do, if you do a Wix site that's like $10 a month, is it's going to give you an online presence so that you're not just a social media account. And that's really important for grant funders. They want to see organizations that have websites. They have way more confidence in organizations that have a website than those that don't. So it's really important. Just build a website, 1 page, landing page, logo, here's what we do, picture of kids being served, picture of your staff, here's how to contact us. The more people that contact your site, the more traffic it's going to get, the higher it's going to go. So if you get enough people to contact your Wix site, you can actually push up into SEO. It's just all about interaction. Google Business Profile. How many people know that you can make a Google Business Profile that makes you pop up on Google Maps?
Oh yeah.
With the ratings, right? 4 point something. And then you get all your friends to rate you 5 stars. And then all of a sudden your drumline or your drill team or your dance company is a 4.8. And when people Google, they're going to see, oh, this team is a 4.8. Yeah, I'm definitely going to hire them. Yeah. And then you can have that link go to your Wix site, your $10 a month Wix site. So that's a hack. Okay? Fact. Most people in small businesses do a great job on social media, but digital marketing has stronger potential to get you the big money. So if you have a website, if you build your digital marketing presence, that's going to make you the difference between somebody with $2,000 to hire your team is going to pay you versus not giving you a look because you're only an Instagram account or only a Facebook page. All right, last but not least, branding. Make sure you have a logo that's bold. How many people can visualize the Amazon logo? What's the most important part of the Amazon logo? The arrow, but what's the most important part of that arrow? It's a smile. Did you notice that it's a smile? So when you look at it, you feel good. So you feel good because the stuff's coming right to you as fast as possible. What's that? Yeah. It doesn't show a stolen package. All right. So really, really important. You got to do some catching there. The slogan is really important. And you got to have some core values in there. And then the grants right here, I gave you a checklist. Here's what you got to have before you apply for a grant. You got to have that bank account. You got to have your budget broken down by tax categories, social media presence, digital presence, and you got to be ready to tell your story. And I gave you a step-by-step on how to tell your story, which is going to give you everything you need to populate the grant applications. Now, really important, you're going to know how you write better than anyone else. If you have good grammar, if you know how to write in a way that you would feel comfortable asking somebody for $10,000, go ahead and fill out that grant application. If that's not something that you do, but you're great at telling the story, get somebody else to take a look at it and fix the grammar and get it all polished up before it goes on that grant application. Because that's really, really important. They want to look at, really, you can put it through Grammarly probably. Mm-hmm. You might even be able to use, what's that, ChatGPT or something? Yeah. Although it's not good enough. People are going to look and some of that stuff's going to be weird than they're going to learn.
Kind of robotic.
Yeah, like a robot. They don't want to give money to robots, so be careful with that. So that's all I got. There's another thing about recruitment and about where to find, and I can, as Drumlines coordinator for Philadelphia School District, I can connect you with schools in your neighborhood where you can do recruitment presentations. Just make sure the person that you send in to do recruitment has clearances, because that's really important. They're going to want to make sure they have clearances before they interact with the kids. So all that's in this document, and I'm going to work on a fillable version of it, and I want to give it over to Ms. Abrams because she's going to give you more information on how to write the grants. Okay?
Thanks.
Thanks so
All
much.
right. I hope you guys got all of that.